This video is going to move fast, so stay with me. We're going through 26 mistakes to avoid if you're a DJ, music producer, artist, musician, all of the above. And to make this fun, we're going to go from A to Z. Let's start with letter A, and that is always remember why you got into this. When you first started out making music, you loved it. It didn't matter how bad the music sounded, you were having fun. And over time, pressure can build as you begin releasing music. Maybe you're trying to grow a fan base and you start to deal with rejection. Or maybe you start to realize that, hey, my music doesn't sound as good as X, Y, and Z. And this pressure builds. Forget about it. You're doing this because you enjoy it, and always remember that. For letter B, it's going to be buying more gear, buying more plugins, buying more sample packs. These things help, but they're never going to be the answer. When you're struggling, it is tempting to think that that's an easy solution. Oh, if I just buy this synth, it's going to make everything better because I saw this big artist uses it. It's never the case. It's always going to come down to just the fundamentals, finishing a lot of music, building your brand, doing it right over time. That's ultimately the answer. It's not the cool synth or plugin that's calling your name. For letter C, it's going to be collaborating with other artists. If you're not collabing with other artists, start immediately. Reach out to someone today. There are so many benefits that come from working with others, and this goes well beyond music, right? With music specifically, though, we all go about it a different way, and that's the beauty of this. There's no one way to do it. How you do it is unique to you. You know your way. Start learning from others. You can create wild things that truthfully, you, I, anyone could never create themselves. Letter D is don't be afraid to make a wrong move. You are going to mess up time and time and time and time again. That's part of learning. We learn through our mistakes. We learn through our failures. Ultimately, we learn what to do by first learning what not to do. So don't be afraid to make a wrong move. Letter E, we're going to go with every day. And what I mean by that is not being consistent, not honing your craft, not developing your skill set every single day. Now, I know things come up. It might be a vacation, you have family time one day. I understand. But in the bigger picture, the more times you could string together studio sessions and consecutive days of working, that's where you're going to start to see the growth. Build consistency in your approach by working every single day. Letter F, finishing music, meaning if you're not finishing enough music, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You learn by doing the process. Now, if you want to get really good at putting out full, completed songs from the writing to the sound selection, the mix, the master, you need to be able to practice that entire process over and over and over. And the way you do that is by finishing music. The more music you finish, the more practice you have, the better you get at the whole thing. G is goals, and that's not having them. Set daily goals. What do you want to accomplish today in your studio session? Set weekly goals. Is it finishing that track? Set monthly goals, finishing X amount of tracks, putting out so much content on social media, and even yearly goals. I'd like to sign X amount of records, potentially play this many shows, grow my audience by that many thousands, get this many streams. Having goals is huge. It gives you something to aim for. It gives you something to work for. Always be setting them and always be adjusting them so you can keep reaching further and further and further in front of you. H is going to be to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're not already following the Cosmic Academy page, we highly, highly recommend you do. What we're trying to really provide here on this channel are the lessons we have learned from our development program, working with 500 students, 500 artists that sign to huge labels. They play the biggest shows like EDC. We just had 3 students on EDC this year. We're going to be providing you with as many valuable lessons as we can. So hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're not, and let's continue on. For letter I, it's innovate rather than imitate. A lot of times we just try and copy someone else's sound, copy someone else's style. Imitating others is never going to work, especially when you're imitating big artists. Why would anyone associate you with that sound if there was already a huge artist that created that? Do you and innovate instead of imitate. Letter J is going to be judging yourself. Now, if you want to judge yourself, here's what to do. look back at a previous version of yourself. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Don't judge your progress based on the people you know around you. Judge yourself based on how far you have come. Go listen to something you made a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago. I will guarantee you it sounds better than today. Letter K is to keep pushing. So many times we see artists just give up when things get hard, when things get tough. I guarantee you, any artist you look up to who's playing the big time slots, who's putting out the big records, you ask them if they ever had a moment where there was self-doubt, they wanted to quit, but they kept pushing, and that's what eventually gets them to that level. You're going to face rejection. It's okay. Use it as a learning experience and keep pushing. For letter L, it's going to be listening to only one genre of music or one specific type of music. As an artist, as a producer, it's really important to open your eyes to all of the different ways people are creating. There is inspiration everywhere around us. And it's not that you have to do what someone else is doing, but just by listening to a different type of music that maybe you normally don't listen to or appreciate, it can inspire something that you would have never got from just listening to the same thing over and over. You don't have to like it to listen to it. For letter M, it's thinking that the mix is what's holding you back. Oftentimes, if you get to a mix and things don't sound great already, there's a bigger problem. You might have the wrong sounds. Your writing might be shit, and that's what's causing the competition, the clashing. Oftentimes, a bad mix comes from a bad production, which is bad sound selection and bad writing. Focus on those first before you start mixing, and your mixdowns will be 10 times easier and sound 10 times better. For letter N, not being patient. This is a marathon that we're running. It is not a sprint. And this is going to take a long time, and there will be peaks, there will be valleys, there will be points in this race where you have a cramp, there will be points in this race where you feel like you are flying forward. This is all totally natural. Everyone's going to go through it, but be patient, because if you're chasing quick success, that typically means it's going to be very hard to sustain that over time. You need to build a strong foundation in a lot of areas. Be patient. This is not a sprint, but it is a marathon. For letter O, it's only focusing on your music and not your brand. It is going to take a marriage of both in order to succeed. This is not just the most talented musicians club. Think about who your favorite artist is right now. The one who's playing the main stage, the one who's putting out the biggest records on the biggest labels. Do you really think they're the best at what they do? I'm going to say that's a hard no. There's someone in their bedroom right now making the dopest music we will never hear because they're not willing to do both sides. They're only focusing on their music. It's no coincidence that some of our biggest students that have gone the furthest, Nostalgics, Bexy, Charles, they play both sides. They're hustling on building an audience, building their brand, building their network and community, while simultaneously focusing on the music. It's not only about the music to them. They stretch way further than that, and they're seeing amazing success. For letter P, we're talking about preparation, but if you're struggling, it's more so the lack of preparation. Every studio session you have, ideally you want to come in with a game plan. Maybe it's a list with notes of things you want to look at in the mixdown and address. Maybe it's just guiding your session so that you're not wasting too much time on each section. We always recommend to the students having a list, whether it's pen and paper, it's on your computer, and a kitchen timer, so that you can put whatever task you're working on with a time next to it, so maybe you're not spending more than 5 minutes on something that doesn't require more than 5 minutes. Preparation will lead to success. For the letter Q, it's quiet must come with loud. At some point, I think we're forced to learn this. You want loud music. You want loud mixes that are going to hit hard at a festival, hit hard in a club. You can't have loud without quiet. So instead of pushing everything and trying to make it loud, create some sections that are quiet. Watch how much louder your drops sound. Watch how much louder these loud sections become. Contrast is key, and in order to have loud, you must have quiet. The letter R, we're going to go to an acronym, RTFM, and this is funny because it stands for read the manual. When you get a new plugin and you just start using it, a couple things can go wrong. First off, it may just waste a shit ton of time. When you're sitting there turning knobs, you're trying to figure this out on the go. You should probably be working towards finishing music, not spending 30 minutes trying to figure out where all the knobs are. As crazy as this may sound, reading the manual actually helps. It's going to show you where everything is. Oftentimes it tells you how to use that plugin so it sounds best or works best. Read the manuals, they definitely help. For letter S, I'm going to go to self-releasing your music. Now, before you attack me with pitchforks on this one, let me explain what I mean. I'm not saying that you shouldn't self-release your music, but when you're only self-releasing your music and worrying why you're not growing, who's going to discover you? If you don't have an audience already, who's randomly going to come across your music? Signing records is also an alternative, something you could be doing alongside self-releasing if you really want, which has a little more validity behind it. Someone is basically saying, hey, we vouch for this work. We're going to put it out to our audience. Now that opens up a whole nother can of worms because all of a sudden you're reaching people you wouldn't have reached if you self-released the song. Don't be afraid to sign records. I know there's always this stigma of, oh, the record industry is such a bad place. You can also gain a ton from releasing with labels, from their audience to the artists on their roster that it helps you build connections with. It opens up gig possibilities. There's so much more that can come from also signing records. So self-releasing is cool. It's easy. Signing records is a little harder, but aim for it. Don't just self-release. You're cutting yourself short. For letter T, it's going to be thinking the DAW actually matters. Choose whatever DAW you'd like to work in. None of them are better than the other. It's all what you work best in. If you make a great song, no one gives a shit about what DAW you worked in. No one's going to ask you. If the music is good, the music is good. I don't care where you made it. No one cares where you made it. Don't get caught up in thinking you need to work in this DAW because the artist you like works in that DAW. It just doesn't work that way. Find what works for you. All right, letter U is going to be understanding what you're actually doing. Now, this is music, and at the end of the day, all that matters is how things sound. But not all of us are able to just use our ears and create greatness without understanding what we're actually doing. Take the time to learn the techniques, the tools you use. Understand what this process is to be able to create consistent quality music. For letter V, let's choose the word volume. Now, how is this a mistake? If you're not reaching for your volume fader first to solve problems, that's your mistake. Volume is the most important mixing tool we have. If you don't first level sounds correctly, it's very hard to hear any EQ issues, dynamic issues that might need compression, or even stereo and spatial issues. Coming towards the end here, letter W is going to be welcoming change. If you're not welcoming change, it's going to be very hard for you to grow. Things change. Everything changes. Your taste in music is also allowed to change. I would hope you're not listening and making the exact same thing you were making 5-10 years ago. I'm sure things have evolved and changed, and that's amazing. Welcome this change, embrace this change, because 5 years from now, you're probably not going to be making the same thing you're making right now, and that's a good thing. Letter X is a weird one, so let's do a play on words here. Expect things to be hard. Listen, if this were easy, everyone would be doing it and everyone would be succeeding at it. It's just not the case. The things we want in life usually don't come easy, and the best things we get in life usually require work, and they're a little bit harder to achieve. There are obstacles we need to overcome. Understand that this is natural, and as long as you realize when things get hard, they're also going to get better, it allows you to work through it and just keep going. Letter Y, you're doing it alone. This is a big mistake. It's very hard to succeed in this business, this industry, doing it alone. Open yourself to meeting new people who are in this field, whether it is talent buyers, promoters, other artists, people who work at labels, singer-songwriters. Try and be a part of a community of other like-minded producers and artists that you can work with, that can be there to support you. Just last night, I was at Feedback with Cosmic Academy and we had 45 people there showing their music. And one by one, we went through each person's song and everyone is leaving comments on those songs to provide critical feedback, how they can make it better. They don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. Find a community of like-minded people. That is the quickest way to grow. All right, we've come to the end. Letter Z, Zach is the best. I'm only kidding. You probably saw that coming. For real though, letter Z is going to be 0. Don't forget where you started from. 0 fans, 0 knowledge. That is the same place your favorite artist started from. 0 fans, 0 knowledge. They can do it. I have faith you can do it too. All right, that's it for this one. Drop a comment. Which of these was your favorite? Which one hits home the hardest? Otherwise, I thank you for sticking around so long. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and the subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our other videos because we post these things pretty much daily. So until the next one, I will see you.